Is this thing on or how's it going? Well, hello and how's it going? Well, how's it going?
Hello, and how's it going? Hello, how's it going?
Well, how's it going? Well, how's it going?
Well, no, sorry. Well, how's it going?
Well, how's it going? I'm here with you. I looked at you and I started
I was
laughing.
going to say good.
Well, how's it going? I'm here with Kristian and Madison, and we're back.
We are back.
The back, baby. My phone vibrated.
Try not to laugh.
Well, how's it going? I'm here with Kristian Karamanich,
Yes, hello, Ben. The usual suspects.
the usual suspect, yes, and not Madison. We're here with Tiana McGrath, our special guest for the day.
Hello. Definitely
Maddie.
not Madison.
Maddie's
Poor
still
Maddie.
gallivanting around Europe. She's
Yes.
not back yet.
Macedonia, I think, at the moment.
North Macedonia.
Oh, North.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick would be very disappointed if we didn't clarify that.
Well, no, I think Nick gets more annoyed if you call it North Macedonia, to be honest with you. Dom's laughing over there. Dom's married to a Greek, so he's got a stake in that equation. No, but yeah, Benny, would you like to tell us what today's episode is going to be about and just
Yeah.
give us an introduction to Tiana and what she does?
Yes. Well, today's episode is a little bit of a drawback to our previous touch on the new rental legislation that came into place in New South Wales in the last few months. And we thought, who better to ask than someone with their finger on the pulse than Tiana McGrath?
An actual professional, not just me, Ben, and Maddie.
Yes.
You guys did well, though, with your episode. I have to
Thank you
admit,
very
I was
much.
impressed. There was nothing made up. It was all pretty true. So
Well, it was accurate.
it was accurate. I was a bit worried when we were leaving Ben to it. But no, it was very accurate. So I'm happy to expand on, points and what you guys would like. And yeah.
Beautiful.
100%.
Well, thanks for joining us, Tiana. And
No
the
worries.
first question we should probably ask is, what makes you qualified for me to call you a professional? So, what do you do? What makes you the rental professional in the room?
So I am one of the property managers at MMJ North. I work with Ben. I've been in property management for 15 years. I also give a fair bit of my time to the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales. I've been sitting on their property management chapter committee for over 10 years now. And I've just recently been the chair. So my term ends at the end of the year, but I've been the chairperson for 2 years. So I was quite involved in the legislation as it was going through government and review and part of a lot of meetings that were quite frustrating. And product was still frustrating. But so I've had a fair bit to do with the legislation when it first came to play as a draft and when it basically got passed through government.
So basically, you're not just professional; you're like overqualified to be on this podcast.
I think that's too nice, but I do like legislation. I've got issues, but yeah, I do.
You'll fit really well in here. For sure.
That's another episode.
Yeah, no, I don't think we'd be allowed to do that episode anyway.
So we need a therapist.
We need someone qualified.
That'd be our other special guest.
It won't be a property podcast anymore. We might do a spin-off series. Okay, good stuff. So obviously last time we went as far deep into things as we felt kind of qualified to. So
Yeah.
I think the main point of today is to kind of delve even deeper into that with someone who not only knows what they're talking about, but was actively involved in bringing about these changes, which I think as far as, interview candidates go, it's pretty damn good. I think we've done all right here, Benny.
Definitely. No, we try. We only got the best at MMJ North,
We do.
Of course. Of course. All right. Well, Benny, I think, you've prepared a bit of some questions we wanted
Yes.
to ask Tiana.
Yeah, a bit of a questionnaire for Tiana.
Yeah.
Starting off easy for you.
Mm.
Well, you did touch on how long you've been in the industry for.
Yes, a long
A
time.
little bit about your real estate journey. Where did you kick off?
So I left school in 2009. And
Whispered the-
yeah, whisper that.
Just turn away from the microphone.
Yeah. Left school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to work. I knew I didn't really want to go to uni. Didn't really like school that much. I don't have a high attention span like most of us in this office. That's why we were all in real estate, I reckon.
Hey, I'm not in real estate, but you're not wrong about me, but I'm not in real estate.
So I thought there was a college in Sydney that was an entertainment music business college, and I thought I'd go and study just for a year and become a band manager. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. What a cool
That's
job.
a unique.
Yeah. But I got 3/4 of the way through and realized I didn't know any bands. And I thought, I don't think this is going to work out.
I can see how that would be a problem.
Yeah, I hit a point where I was like, this is probably a wrong decision. So I then decided that I definitely just wanted to work. Studying definitely wasn't for me. So my dad actually was in real estate for a really long time. He started in real estate when he was 18. Had a chat to him and I was like, I just want to work. What should I do? And he's like, oh, look, I think you'd actually be okay in real estate. And I was like, okay, sounds all right. So the company he worked for needed a property manager, it was just a junior position up in Sydney, in East Sydney, right near Hyde Park. It was a pretty easy job because the company I worked for was a building management company. So they managed buildings across the city and they picked up management in the buildings they managed. So it was just apartments I looked after in the city. We were the building managers. So it was cruisy. I learnt a lot. I dealt with some pretty cool people up there. Saw the city. After almost 3 years, the traveling was just too much for me. So I decided I wanted to work in Wollongong.
So you were commuting every day?
I was commuting every day, yeah. And I was like a 19-year-old. Like I used to go with dad sometimes. I used to sleep in the car. Like being a mum now, I would have just slapped me. But anyway, it's a story for another time. So yeah, I used to sleep and then I'd wake up just as we got out of the Eastern Distributor. The office was 2 minutes away and dad would drop me off to the front door and then I'd go in and start my day. Like pretty damn lucky.
Roll straight out of
thanks,
bed.
Steve. Literally. So yeah, after about 3 years, I thought it's time to come and work in Wollongong. Spent 7 years working for an independent agency down here. Then I got sick of working in Wollongong because I was working and everyone, like you bump into your tenants down the shops and your landlords, and I just was getting surrounded and smothered. And I thought, well, I want to get out. So I went and worked at McGrath Cronulla. I wasn't a McGrath then. I married a McGrath and was a property manager and team leader. I did almost 3 years there. That was a hectic role.
Up and down like a yo-yo you were at one point.
Yeah, I was, yeah. I commuted then too, but the office was very fast-paced. It was a big rent roll. Really, it was a bit of a challenging role. I learnt a lot. I have no regrets. I learnt a lot and I wouldn't be in the position I am now as one of the business owners at MMJ North if I hadn't have spent time there. So I learnt a lot of what to do and what not to do. And then I was approached and became part of the MMJ North family 4 years ago. So
MMJ.
yeah. So that all adds up to about 15 years in real estate. I love it. I've pretty much only done property management. I am capable of selling a house if I wanted to, but
if Ben can, anyone can.
Yeah, exactly. But no, but yeah,
that was me. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, I really like property management, so that's my niche. And yeah, I mean, Ben was in our property management team for a couple of years. So
had the pleasure of knowing me for 4 years.
Yeah, I've had the
putting
pleasure.
Up with me.
Yeah, pleasure of putting up with Ben for 4 years.
Was he a good property manager at least?
He actually was.
Oh,
I bought into the business and I thought, oh my God, a male property manager.
Who
like
is this idiot?
I thought, oh, he's not going to be any good. Like, what's going on here? But
what about the first week we met and we went out to a certain?
Yeah, we went out to a certain property. Then Ben's story, as he retold it to everyone, it got bigger and bigger and bigger than Ben-Hur. As I guess you probably can imagine. And in the end, it was just...
Now I'm wondering what this is. Is this something we should touch on or something we should leave alone? I don't know.
Very broadly.
Completely broad, yeah.
Yeah, broadly had to go out to a property to give access to some medical people.
Okay.
Police got involved to then get access to the unit legally. And we got access.
Say it was the mental health team. Like we had a tenant that was. Look, I think you can say like a tenant that wasn't like stable.
Yep.
Causing a nuisance in a block.
As long as you're not specifying who the tenant was, I'm sure you're okay.
No, it was it was over a long period of time. We finally got to this point, and I think it was your first week, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I thought, someone probably needs to go out with Ben. Like, I don't know if he.
Paige stitched you up there.
Yeah, Paige said, I think you should go with Ben.
Take him out?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, oh,
so that was your first week in property management?
No, that was my first week.
Oh, sorry. I completely misunderstood that.
No.
I'd been here for just over a year, I think. And then, that was one of the first times we went out together. And it was one of those what could have been a 5-minute thing turned into like a 3-hour thing.
It was a
So then we
sketch
went
up.
there, the mental health team came, then we had to wait for the police, then the police came, and then we were asked to leave because we didn't really need to be there. They had access, the mental health people could get to the tenant. But by the time we came back and I retold the story in the office, it ended up like that I was leading the SWAT team, and I when we entered the unit, like the police helicopter came. It was that serious.
The road was
so
closed.
I was like, every time I told the story, I was just egging it on, and I was feeding off it too.
Well, lucky you had a
reactions.
future boxing champion at the scene in case things go off.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been good to know that at that stage.
But I just remember telling the story to other people, and I thought I was the funniest guy in the world, getting all these laughs and people sort of believing me a little bit. And Tiana in the background going, "Is this guy serious?"
None of this happened.
Tiana, that is a phenomenal first impression of Ben.
Yeah,
You know why? Because I don't think you could ask for a more accurate one.
No, I know. And it just didn't get any better, really, after that.
I normally warm up to people a little bit, but you got the full on.
I got the full on version in the first week. And basically, that's how the last 4 years have been.
I think the fact that you stuck around even in spite of that really shows a lot of good character. So credit where it's due, Tiana. That's
Thank you.
very, very strong-willed.
No, we had some good times.
We've got to start roasting.
I enjoyed the couple of years in property management.
I think it's a good way to start in the industry. I think you learn a lot.
I agree.
You learn a lot about people. You deal with every type of person possible almost. And I think that it's a really good grounding. And like whether you choose to stay in property management or you choose to take another career path after that, I think it's a really good way to start.
100%. I actually had someone ask me who wanted to come into the industry, and as a male as well, actually, and I was, I only ever see females in property management. And I said, honestly, if I was starting, I'd do property management.
Yeah.
It's just, you get an understanding of what actually goes on.
Yeah.
If you're in sales, you never no one goes from, well, in my experience, I've never really seen someone go sales to property management.
No.
It's normally vice versa.
Yeah.
But the things that you can learn, and
Yeah.
the interactions you have with people and everything.
Totally.
Because in sales, generally people like you or they try and suck up to get what they want. Whereas property management, you've got to learn to.
You are the shit kicker.
Yeah. And
well,
people,
no, just even be the middleman as well.
yeah. And
I
I think it's the way you learn the actual art of negotiation in property management.
I can't remember if it was you or Maddie. One of you summed it up probably pretty perfectly on a previous episode. Or one of you, I don't know if it was you or her, but one of you said, when you're in sales, everybody wants to be on the phone to you. Everybody wants to talk to you. When you're in property management, people are in the corner when shit goes wrong.
Yeah.
No one wants your call. Like
Literally.
a landlord doesn't generally want your call because you're going to get them to spend money. And a tenant doesn't really want to hear from you because they're either in trouble or something. Or you're going to barge in for a routine inspection.
Yeah, that's pretty much my day.
Yeah, it's an unforgiving job, is I think what we established previously.
Very much so.
I stand by my previous comment of it takes very strong character to be able to survive that long in that kind of job. So credit to you, Tiana.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here for a lot longer because I don't know how to do anything else.
Well, there's an old saying, and it's fear not the man who is good at 100 things, fear the man who is perfect at one single thing.
Yeah.
You know, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing.
Yeah.
Stick to what you're good at and you'll be right.
Exactly.
100%.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So we also were going to ask you, before we jump into some of the specifics around the legislation, we kind of wanted to get just a general overview of what you think of the property market in terms of rental at the moment, in terms of what prices are doing, what you think they're going to be doing over the next couple of years, any changes you've kind of noticed recently, and I guess what people can expect if they're out and about in the rental market.
Look, I mean, Wollongong is very seasonal. So every winter it's a lull, which means that there's more rental properties on the market and there's less tenants looking. So if you're a tenant, I would look and I'd find something in winter because you're probably going to get it cheaper.
Heard it here first,
and you're going to, it happens every winter. And I worked in the Shire for a fair bit and it was the same up there as well. So as when you're coastal, no one wants to move to the water in winter. And then January comes up and everyone goes, let's move to Wollongong. Let's have a coastal change. But if you think of it in winter, you'll save yourself some money and you'll find a better property.
Yeah.
So, we are experiencing that a little bit at the moment. Probably there's a lack of quality tenants out there at the moment. We're getting applications, but sometimes some properties are taking a couple of inspections to find a quality tenant. I mean, we could lease them at the first inspection, but we're not doing our job properly if we're just throwing any old tenant in there for our landlords. Look, there's not enough stock on the market in terms of affordable properties. That's been the story for a long time, and it will be a story for a long time until the government decides to do something about it.
Yeah. We were joking saying that's going to save us.
Gonna solve- it's
The
gonna solve-
co-works development will save us.
Yeah.
It's going to solve all our problems.
Oh, yeah, hopefully. But yeah, so I think there's a lack of affordable houses in that sort of between 5 to 600, 650 bracket.
Yeah.
That's sort of what like a family that might be a single income family, you might have the husband working and the mum, at home with the kids, getting some Centrelink. That's normally what they can afford. The units, anything sort of like around that $400 mark, which is really rare to find these days, is also affordable as well. And again, there's not much of that stock left. And that's the problem. And like I said, until they stop deciding to fix legislation and Band-Aid fixes, we're always going to have this affordable housing crisis. I call it affordable housing crisis. I don't call it a housing crisis because you can put a property online for $1,000 a week and you might only get a couple of tenants looking at it. So that's, but $1,000 a week in rent is a lot of money.
It is.
You need to earn a lot of money to be able to pay that every week, plus your ongoing expenses. So look, the rental markets, I would say it's not too bad at the moment because it's winter.
Yeah.
And that's sort of been the story for a long time in terms of what's lacking and what's there.
Yeah. So if you're a tenant, if you can get yourself onto a 12-month leasing cycle, generally during winter would give you
definitely. Yeah. I mean, look,
a bit of an edge. If there's not enough, like you said, quality tenants on the market, if you do fall under the bracket of being a quality tenant, then winter would be your time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like winter's not a great time to move. I've just been moving and it's horrendous.
I feel you, Tiana. I'm trying to sell. I might need to change agencies. I don't know. It's not been.
Yeah.
I said I was going to stop. I can't help it.
You're on fire.
I'm such an asshole today. I'm sorry. I need to stop. I've actually, you know what? That's enough. I'm gonna no more roasting Ben.
No, I'll cop that.
Ben is doing a great job selling my unit. It's not his fault.
Watch Maddie come back and it sells the first week she's back.
Is it a unit in Burke Street?
Yeah.
That would be me. Like Tiana said, it's winter. During winter, the market generally takes a bit of a lull on coastal cities. So it's not Ben's fault.
No, it's not Ben's fault. It's the market's fault.
The rental market's my fault as well, actually. Yeah, I'll hold my hand up for that.
I'm sorry. I've been really mean to you today. We're going to put no more. I'm done.
But November, December, January, they always used to scare me in the property market.
Yeah, they're pretty hectic times. Like where we get an influx of new uni students. So everything just gets snapped up. It's pretty crazy. People are moving here. They're the really busy times. That's when it's pretty hectic.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool. Well, the fun stuff.
Yeah,
legislation.
Bit of the new legislation. But some of the things that we touched on and more your thoughts as well, and anything if you had to add on them as well. But kicking it off with the no grounds notice.
I think
I don't know how I feel about that, Chuck.
Yeah. Look, I think with this legislation, it's probably the way that I was so heavily involved in some meetings, and unfortunately everything that we were privy to is what they call cabinet in confidence, which means that I can't really talk about a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
I can maybe, drop a hint here and there. But that's the problem, is that they have these meetings where they ask you to review it and they say it's cabinet in confidence. So you can't go out and say to people, this is actually how crap it was to begin with, and this is what we're left with, because I don't want people knowing that.
We worked out. It's so hard to get to. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to also, which is what I've been sort of telling myself, is because I got a little bit annoyed last year when I saw that it had been passed and what had been passed. And I was like, we've done so much work to try and get, changes that we wanted and not necessarily what's been passed. But it was very political. Yep. It was, the Greens made a deal with Labor for their votes not last election, the election before. So it was pushed through before the recent election we've had. And if you look at the dates and the way it all worked, it's pretty obvious to see that it was a very political move.
Yep.
There was nothing we could do about it to really stop it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too political.
Up against an uphill battle.
Yeah, we're up against the uphill battle. And we did have some wins. I sat in a room with people where they wanted to argue how long it took for a property to settle. And I said it was a 42-day settlement period. And they said, are you sure? And I said, I've been in real estate for 15 years. I'm sure. I know how long it takes for a property to settle. And they went, we'll have to look into that. And I thought,
I'm
no,
kinda
you
sh-
don't look into anything.
I'm kind of
Um,
shocked that was even a point of argument. It's
Yeah,
pretty,
no, it was. And I was in
pretty
with
commonly accepted standard. Like, not
Yeah.
always. Sometimes you negotiate
You can
shorter or quicker,
negotiate it, but
obviously,
that's where it
But the
more
starts.
of a
standard
contract,
front
42
page of a
days.
contract.
That's where it
exactly.
starts. But yeah, I was sitting with these geniuses that make this legislation, and they
Tell us
didn't
how you
even
really
know.
They didn't know.
Yeah. So I think when
That's a bit
I
scary.
give that example, sometimes it's a bit, well, not example, that story. It kind of gives you context to what we're working with.
Well, Ben just said it really well. That's kind of scary.
Mm.
It is. Yeah.
These are the people who are actively involved in drawing up legislation
Literally.
relating to property, and they
Yeah.
couldn't even tell you what a standard
Yep,
settlement
exactly.
timeframe is. That's kind of worrying.
Yeah. No, it was very worrying, and I mean, I laugh about it, but it was very concerning. So yeah, I mean, look, the removal of no grounds was really disappointing. And not because as a property manager we use it to just kick tenants out. Like, I'm not in the business to kick tenants out on
Yeah.
the street. Well, if you got a good tenant, you'll keep a good tenant.
Correct.
But I'm of the belief that a landlord has the right to have their property back. And a landlord should not have to be dictated to as to what reason they have to give a tenant to get their property back. And then not only that, supply a whole lot of evidence to back up why they want their property back. Like, you look at freedom of contract, there's no freedom of contract in that when a landlord can't get their property back. And at the end of the day, a landlord's providing housing for a tenant of somewhere to live.
Yeah.
And as a tenant, you have to accept it's not forever. I've
Yeah.
been a tenant, I've been renting, and you have to accept that it's not forever.
Yeah.
And 99.9% of landlords, and every landlord that I deal with personally, because I don't want the crap ones.
Selective.
We are selective. We only want the good ones that understand and do the right thing. If they are getting their property back, it's for a genuine reason.
Yeah.
They want to sell it. They want to move their family in. They want to move in themselves. Sometimes they're going through a divorce, or they're going through something in their life and they need that property back.
Yeah.
To have to put a restriction on them to have to give answers or reasons and delve into personal lives and situations, I personally feel really strongly about it. And I think what was disappointing is that they removed no grounds and forced us into what I've just said, but then also they've done it with end of fixed term as well. So even if you've got a tenant on a lease, you used to be able to give them 30 days notice when it was coming up for lease and say, sorry, you've got to leave, end of story. But now all this no grounds BS has been roped into end of fixed term as well. So
so it's not even about no grounds evicting someone.
No, it's about
you
terminations.
can't even just let a lease expire and not renew it. You have to give a reason as to why you're not renewing
correct.
it.
You
which
have to
is
give a reason for everything.
crazy. Yeah.
And it's and a whole lot of documentation for renovations and every reason under the sun. And if you want to get a tenant out and your reason's not there, well then tough luck.
I feel like they've pushed it into a corner now that unfortunately people are just going to come up with reasons where there was probably a genuine reason before, and a 90-day period, personally, I think as well, is more than enough for someone to try and secure another property if
Totally.
they're seriously out there looking.
I agree.
And also, it's not like you said, you're not in the business of kicking people out. If people seriously can't find something in that period of time and they reach out and everything like that, it's generally a pretty easy thing to work around. You need another 2 weeks or whatever, we can do that. But now I feel like we've got to come up with some form of reason to provide evidence.
That's what we said last time.
Yeah.
It almost incentivizes landlords and property managers to lie.
Yeah.
Which kind of defeats the purpose, right?
I mean,
not saying
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I guess the way that even all the evidence is there is that you can't lie.
Yeah.
So, I guess the no grounds was there because, I might get judged for this, but maybe potentially you had a tenant in a property and it just wasn't working. Potentially maybe the landlord-tenant relationship wasn't the best. And it is like a matchmaking, like when you put a tenant into a property and you meet a tenant and you know what the landlord's like, you do have to matchmake them.
Here's a business idea. Tinder for tenants.
Potentially.
Wow, we're coming up with all the good ideas.
We are.
Oh, that is shocking.
But yeah, look, you have what I call like a high maintenance tenant and a high maintenance landlord. They're not going to work.
Yeah.
So you need to balance it out. So sometimes you do have properties where it's just not working, or maybe that tenant's not suited to that particular property. Maybe it's an older property and maybe it's susceptible sometimes to a little bit of like moisture in winter. Like old properties around Wollongong you need to ventilate them, you need to know how to live in them. Sometimes the right tenant may not be in that property. So, sometimes no grounds was used for those reasons, and it wasn't a lot of the time at all.
It wasn't malicious. Generally,
It's never been malicious. It's always been for the good of everyone, to be honest with you.
In like every part of life, not every relationship works, and
Exactly.
that's a way
Sometimes
around
you
it.
just have to move on.
Exactly right.
You love something, let it go. Maybe not, but maybe that doesn't apply to tenants. But
Sorry. Yeah. So I think
I get what you're saying. It's a case of in trying to push for better rights and better security for tenants, it's almost gone too far the other way of
totally
almost overruling property rights of
Yeah. it's
landowners.
stripped landlords of their rights. I think it's not equitable anymore.
Yeah. And I think it gets to a point of, look, everything, my brain operates on an economics basis. And for me, it's all about, well, if landlords are basically delivering a service that the government doesn't want to have to do, it's basically the government privatizing housing supply by saying to you, if you buy a property and you rent it out so that we have housing supply to give to people, we might offer you some incentives like negative gearing, whatever it might be. But they're privatizing housing supply. Something like this obviously strips away some of those, maybe not the incentives, so to speak, but it makes it harder for landlords, and it's going to lead to more people going, well, fuck, couldn't be bothered.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
they're going to
totally.
get out of the market, and then we're already in a shortage.
Yeah.
Not a complete shortage, but an affordable one. And if there's less properties, it's going to drive the price up because they're in demand.
Well, I mean, Victoria had these laws that are very similar come in, and within a couple of months, they had thousands of properties exit their rental market, and they were all sold.
Wow.
And we delivered this data, and we were basically shut down, saying, "Well, how do you think how do you know we're going to be the same?" It's pretty obvious.
Economics, yeah.
Yeah,
they're only a couple of hours down the road.
Yeah,
like it's not. We're not looking at another country.
No,
it's
looking at just another state
comparison, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think I agree. It's not like there's not much incentive of being a landlord anymore.
So no more, no grounds, no good.
Yeah,
No,
that
no
was
good.
one that we did make that joke on there.
No good.
Pack me up.
The next big one that was quite popular, I saw on social media and stuff like that, was pets.
Yes.
As being a pet owner yourself, as I
am. Yes, to a little Kelpie.
I thought this one was interesting as well.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to my thought of, taking away landlords' rights again. I love pets. Got a dog. I'm a big lover of dogs and most animals. Not a big cat person.
I agree. Something about them. But yeah, and I think that if the property is suitable for a pet, go for it. Yep.
If it's a house, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be suitable. And majority of tenants that I've worked with that have had pets have always done the right thing. I think I can only think of 1 or 2 properties in my last 15 years where an animal's actually destroyed the yard. So I get where it was going, but I think it's gone too far in now that, if a landlord simply wants to say no, they've got to go to tribunal. That's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
that's what we were talking about. You brought it up before. It's almost like at this stage of application, it's almost like tenants are now incentivized to not declare it.
Yep.
Wait a month, because then once they're in the property under lease, then the landlord can't say no.
Yeah.
They can say no at the application
and they
stage.
most likely had the pet the whole time. It's just now you're incentivizing tenants to lie on their application.
Well, we've taken a different approach to it. And my favorite saying now is better the devil you know.
Yeah.
So if a tenant comes across and they're a good tenant and they have an animal that looks like it's suitable, then it's almost not saying that they are going to be more favorable than others, but they potentially could be, because it's better that the animal going in and you get the selection of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you literally have no option.
You're approving someone and then they're going to have the Shetland pony. And
Literally.
That's about to say the Shetland pony. Maddie's got E for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
the scary thing.
That's the scary thing.
You can approve someone on that basis, and then it's just
it's pretty brutal.
Is it just an email? Just an email to inform you?
So there's a prescribed form from Fair Trading that the tenants have to
so they can jump
complete.
on and download it themselves, fill it out, and send it through.
Yeah, you've got 21 days to respond. If you don't, it's deemed as accepted. So if you forget or leave it or it gets missed,
that's a smart move from Fair Trading. It's cheeky. Sorry, it's very cheeky.
It's very cheeky.
If you don't respond, it's approved anyway.
Which we've tried to fight hard against. We say that's just not fair, but we didn't win that battle. I think, and then if you want to say no, you got to go to tribunal. The tribunal system's already backed up anyway, and now they're just adding more.
It's loaded up even more.
It is, we're just loading it up even more. So, that's another point we raised, but that was shut down. So, broadly for pets, but I think that there's some properties that just aren't suitable for a pet.
And you're not going to have a Great Dane in a 1-bedroom studio. Like, it's just
totally. And
that to me is common sense. But
yeah, it's very hard to fight against it to not get that pet in.
Yeah. Also, we have rent payment options. That one was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's
pretty straightforward. That's really not affecting us. It's really the pets and the terminations.
They were the big
Everything
ones.
else on here, I think, was pretty straightforward.
The toilets was a funny one, but we knew about that for.
We've known about the toilets for a long time. Yeah, it just crept up on us.
The portable bond scheme. I actually didn't know too much about that from our episode. I did try to investigate a little bit further, but there wasn't as much information.
No, because the geniuses haven't worked out how it's actually going to work out yet.
They've announced that it's coming, but
they've been announcing it for ages. Okay. And I think, there was promise with election crap that
I'm
they
glad
were going to do it.
Because we had that same dilemma. Remember, we were trying to figure out, we were brainstorming how would this work? Who wears the responsibility? We couldn't figure it out. It doesn't quite.
It doesn't work. And we've commented and given them numerous suggestions saying that, the person that should fit the bill or the middleman should be fair trading or the government. Because I can't see another way around it. Because you're essentially taking one sum of money that has at one period of time could essentially have 3 different parties interested in it. And there's only one sum of money. Like, it doesn't work. You could vacate a property. I might need $500 of a $2,000 bond because the property's not clean. But then the next landlord is only going to have a $1,500 bond.
They don't have enough.
So they don't have enough. So then that $500 the tenant has to pay, but then who enforces that for that to pay? It might be a tribunal order, but sometimes they might not pay it.
And that could drag out for months.
They're already in the property.
Yeah.
And then the same thing might happen. And then, look, now we're down to $1,000. And then you're still chasing the tenant for money. And then we're just lumping more jobs on property managers, which is not fair. Yeah. So
in theory, it sounds like a good idea, but practicality wise, it's not.
It's not practical. You can't,
that's the issue. Where does the liability sit? Whose job is it to chase this money or to wear that liability?
And then if they're going
should it be on
between
the new landlord, the old landlord?
It makes it. Why do 2 property managers from different agencies don't want to be arguing over who's chasing the tenant?
Competition, man.
To be honest, you can transfer a bond now.
Yeah,
but we don't do it because of the exact reasons that I've just given you.
Yeah.
And the only, some stages there, at some periods of time there are exceptions, or you might have a property being demolished and a tenant might be leaving that and moving into one with your agency and you've helped them. The landlord doesn't care how that property's left and they've already paid. So you can transfer that bond. So a bond's in place when a tenancy starts and they might top it up. But that's a really rare situation.
Yeah, how often is that happening?
That's what I mean. Or how it doesn't happen very often. And it's very risky to do, which is why we don't do it.
So short answer, folks, if you're listening, they don't know how it's going to work yet. So we don't know because they don't know.
Yeah, I'm very, very intrigued to see what they come up with.
Fair trading could maybe use some of that money from the interest they're getting from holding all those bonds.
They actually don't collect interest anymore.
Oh, they don't even themselves.
I don't think so.
Because that's a lot of money to be holding.
Oh, actually, potentially, maybe
someone's
they do.
Got to be getting.
Sorry, they used to give the interest back to tenants back in the day, but I don't think they do anymore.
I remember
maybe they keep it.
Interest.
The bonds themselves.
Well, you're saying they're pooling those bonds and investing them somewhere else, and
even if they just left it in
an interest-bearing account,
it's
accruing.
Imagine how much they'd be holding in bonds over the state.
It's a lot
of money.
Yeah, true. I never thought of it practically. Logistically, someone's got to hold that money, and if you're holding that volume of money,
someone's got to.
Obviously, going to park it somewhere.
But it depends. 100%. If they have to hold it in a trust account, then the trust account doesn't accrue interest.
Trust accounts can't.
Yeah,
probably would be a trust account.
Probably would be. There'd be something.
I had, as you were saying, that the tenants got the interest back when we had a tenancy that was almost 20 odd years. I think it worked out to be like 17 cents interest. I was shocked.
Oh yeah, it's nothing.
I was actually in shock. This bond was about $600 because that's how long they'd been there for, and it was like $617 to be and 17 cents to be returned. I just went, that's wild.
Don't spend it all at once.
Yeah. No, when it's accrued interest because it's an odd amount. It's like $501.02. You're like, well, there's the interest.
So they are accruing interest with it.
Yeah,
but not
anymore. When they used to give it back to the tenant, but they don't anymore. So who knows?
To be fair,
I don't know if anyone will.
That sound like a bad idea. If they're going to hold it anyway,
sure.
Surely there's got to be some kind of legal mechanism where they can hold it in an interest-bearing account or some kind of fund that generates a return and give that back to tenants.
I don't know why I had it in my head. Someone said that the interest paid off some of the funds that were stolen from agencies when they were holding the bonds. Any truth to that? No.
Sorry.
That's a wise story.
Say that again.
The interest, the funds from the interest were paid to
Basically covering the bad debt.
covering when agencies stole bonds.
Potentially.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard that.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
sort of just came to mind.
if an agent embezzles trust account money, then the fair trading do come up with it to pay it back.
Yeah,
And then I think obviously you probably have to pay it back.
they'll chase
not
you.
Yeah, I don't think it's a free loan.
Not if you move to Guatemala.
But yeah, I know that they do like, yeah, if you embezzle trust account money and as a landlord you're missing money, they will get it back to you.
Disclaimer, please don't embezzle trust account money.
No, not a
We're
good
not
idea.
promoting embezzlement
Yeah,
or
definitely not
fraud. Just in case that's not totally obvious.
The last one was the reletting restrictions.
Yeah.
That was a fun one too, because when we were looking into the repairs and maintenance aspect, which was a really big part of the job when I was there as well, you have to leave the property vacant for a certain period of time too.
Yeah, you do. I think the repairs, I should have double checked this. I think it's either 4 or 8 weeks.
I think it was 8.
Did we not say
when
it
I was
depends?
looking at it?
No, it's flat out.
It was different for different.
Yeah, it's different for different.
That's what I'm saying. It depended on what it was.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should double check that. But it's either 4 or 8. I think that's not too bad to work with. I think
But it was 4 or 8 weeks from the date the tenants vacated.
Correct. Yeah. And they did change. So there was a lot of documents that were required for that particular one, contracts and quotes, but they've actually changed it. And they've corrected all of that.
If you already have a blanket
you don't need
ruling.
a stat deck or anything from
But you
the trade.
just need you just need a landlord statement now, because I think they realise that they've stuffed up with that.
That's a good change. If you've already made a blanket ruling that you can't relet it for 8 weeks, why would you need proof as well then?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of logistics around trying to get that, which is impossible to get.
To me, it would make sense. You should only have to supply proof of the works if you want to relet it within the 8-week period. So if you finish your renos quicker than the 8 weeks, you want to get back on the market.
Yeah. If anything,
here's the proof. I did the work. Otherwise, if you're waiting 8 weeks anyway, it's a different.
And then a lot of people do their own work too. Which, good luck to them, but yeah, you're not going to be able to get a stat deck from a tradie if you're just going to Bunnings and stuff and doing it yourself.
You could have used receipts.
Okay,
they did have receipts on there.
Yeah, get the guy at Bunnings to sign the stat deck. Why is there tomato sauce on this stat deck?
Literally gone to Bunnings and bought a packet of screws and then been like, "There's my proof that I've got materials to start the job."
Wow.
When you read the legislation, that's how you could actually just do that.
That's messy. At least for the no grounds one, because we did one recently with a termination for sale. We had to provide the agency, which is look, I understand it, but at least that's relevant. But I know buying a box of screws and going, that's taking the piss a bit.
Yeah, but I mean that when you read the legislation, that's how it used to read. Now they've updated it. They've updated it now and removed all of that. So that was a good change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the reletting restrictions is ridiculous. And I made a pretty fair point and said, if you're stopping properties coming back on the market, you wouldn't want to hold up properties coming back on the market. That's what I said.
You're restricting the supply.
That's what I said. If we're trying to return a property back and you're restricting us and then you're making the process to apply to the secretary harder, you wouldn't want to be seen doing that.
Let's think about this for a second. Yeah. No, that's...
Yeah. Well, that's
So, but they've assured us it's a very quick process. But yeah, look, again, it's quite ridiculous.
Okay. That's all the main stuff we sort of wanted to cover around the legislation. So before we move on though, Tiana, was there anything else you felt was relevant to add?
Look, I think we are August now, almost September. So we've been working with this for 5 months. Is that right? May to August.
4 months. 4 months.
4 months, sorry. Yeah. And it's,
I did think then as well.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking,
gosh,
1, 2, 3.
It's not as drastic as what it seemed like any legislation.
I remember walking down and talking to yourself and a couple other people, and they just went, shit.
Yeah, I think the more you work with it, the more you put it into place. You just obviously have to accept it for what it is. Yeah, I mean, the reasons are still hard to get around for termination and all the documents required. And, it's not as simple as a landlord calls you and say, hey, I want to serve a notice to my tenant today. Sorry, we actually need A, B, C, and D before we can do that. So, it's a little bit more complex. It's not as, I feel like it's not as drastic as what we thought.
Yeah.
So if you are a landlord or if you are looking at investing and these were scaring you, I think, have some confidence that your property manager will be able to work with them.
As long as you have a good property manager like Tiana, you'll be fine.
Exactly. Give me a good
We're all about a plug on the show. Cool. We had on there to ask about any changes you made, but we kind of covered those off as we went through each point anyway. So
yeah, I think I sort of commented on what we tried to suggest, and we did have a couple of little wins along the way. But yeah,
good stuff. The other thing we also had, we were going to ask you if you had any funny nightmare tenancies or work-related stories that you can share with us without breaching, privacy.
I did have a couple that I was thinking about. I think probably what I wanted to say was, as a property manager, people just pick the phone up and call you. Like, they don't think. And like, starting at the beginning of my career, I remember when I was probably only a year in, I had a tenant call me. They picked the phone up and they thought, there's a snake at the front door. And I'm thinking, what? Like, you live in Lane Cove. There's not a snake at your front door. Like, not like, you're not out in Whoop Whoop. Anyway, I said, look, it can't be a snake. Like, where you live, there would not be a snake on your front doorstep. No, it's a snake. It's a snake. We're locked ourselves in. We can't go outside. Anyway, I'm going, oh, okay. I said, why don't you send me a photo of what it is? Okay, we'll do that. So they've sent me a photo. It's just a ginormous blue-tongued lizard.
Oh my God.
But I'm thinking, like, why? Like, what would you do if you owned a house?
Yeah.
Would you call the bank and say there's a snake on my front door?
I'll let you know if I get any calls from my clients saying, hey, we don't know who to call. You're our mortgage broker. What do we do about this giant snake on the front door?
But they just pick the phone up. I mean, I had another instance when I worked in Cronulla and these tenants called us. They lived in a granny flat out the back and they called us and they said, look, there's some really strange noises coming from the house and the yard. It sounds like someone's being murdered. And I said, surely not. Like, why don't you call the police?
Yeah.
Oh, because we're just not 100% sure.
Why would you call your property manager? If you thought someone was dying, why would you call the property manager first?
So myself and my best friend Carly, we worked together. We had some good times. We decided to get in the car and investigate it ourselves because we were certain that no one was being killed. We called the landlord who lived at the front. He said, no, there's no dramas. The tenant was still beside herself. So we thought, you know what? Let's go and check it out ourselves. Turned out that there was just a rooster running around the yard. But I just,
why would you not stick your head out the door and look and see?
And we were like, did you not see the rooster? No, we locked ourselves inside.
That's a certain sound
it's distinct. It's a very discernible sound. Like, you know what a rooster sounds like.
Cock-a-doodle-doo and someone getting their throat slit.
Yeah.
I think you could probably tell the difference.
Yeah, apparently not. Call your property manager. They'll come and investigate. And then I did write them down. Had a good think about it. It's 15 years of crap.
Can you spot the difference between a cock-a-doodle-doo and a
slit? I don't know.
I think probably my last story was just like a bit of we had a tenant. So during COVID times, it was the second lot of COVID, the government put a restriction on terminating any tenants. So they all, regardless of what they were doing, they all had to stay. We had a tenant that tried to tell us he was COVID affected, which he wasn't. He was a serial pest. And he just wasn't paying his rent. Anyway, we asked for documentation to prove that he was COVID affected. He never gave us evidence. So as far as we were concerned, he wasn't affected by COVID, but he thought he was like he'd lost income to be a COVID affected tenant. Anyway, I think 6 months, I was trying to remember on the way, between 3 to 6 months, they banned us from terminating tenancies, which
it's wild.
It was wild because this tenant had not paid rent for 6 months. So it was almost over $10,000 of rent this tenant owed because he hadn't paid any rent. So the date came, that day I called, I served him a termination notice. He wasn't happy. Went to tribunal.
You have the balls to take that to tribunal just quietly. You've got 6 months worth of free rent. You think, you know what? Tribunal.
Oh, we went to tribunal because he didn't get out.
Oh, so, gotcha. I think you meant he took it to tribunal.
No, well, actually, he took. So this is the weird part of the story. It's a tribunal is like a standalone. It's not technically a court. Tribunal just sorts tenancy matters out. matters in other things, and it doesn't proceed to court.
Yeah.
If you're not happy with the outcome, you go to the appeals panel, end of story. This tenant, for some reason, I don't know who he knew, but we ended up at tribunal. I got what I wanted. We had a formal hearing. He had to get out. He had to pay all the rent. He wasn't happy. He appealed it. So we went to the appeals panel and I stated my case again. We won again. Anyway, the day that he was due to get out, we'd organised the sheriffs. So the sheriffs come with you to evict a tenant. So anyway, his name was George, I think. He was Greek, so he was probably called George. Anyway, so the day that normally you get 2 sheriffs. That's standard. You turn up, there's 2 sheriffs. I've turned up to this property. Now, in the morning...
Wait, sorry, was the sheriff named George?
Yeah.
Or the tenant?
The tenant.
Okay.
So in the morning, on the way, before I was about to leave the office, I was driving from Cronulla to Brighton Les Sands. I get this email. This tenant has somehow managed to take this case to the Supreme Court. I don't know who he knew, which is not possible. So I get this hearing notice saying you're due to appear in the Supreme Court. And I'm thinking, what on earth is going on? So anyway, I've just jumped on. I'm thinking, well, I've got to appear, but I'm not a lawyer. In the Supreme Court, I don't think you can go and represent yourself. I'm not really sure. So I've jumped online, but then I needed to go and meet the sheriff.
You got the hearing that morning.
He'd somehow got a hearing with the Supreme Court.
Oh,
The morning of the
The morning of the eviction. So I found this out. So I've said to my best friend Carly again, can you drive me to Brighton Les Sands while I'm on video call to the Supreme Court? Because I don't know what's going on. She's like, yeah, no worries. So she's driving me. I'm on video call to the Supreme Court. It's full, I don't even know what they're called, the judge with the wig and everything on. And I'm thinking, what is going on? Anyway, he looked at it and went, I don't even know how this got here. This is a tenancy matter. And old mate's on the video call as well, the tenant. Anyway, the sheriffs have all rocked up in the background. And he's going, the sheriffs have rocked up. What are they going to do? And the judge just goes, proceed, sheriffs. Get him out. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, cool. All right, we've won. So hang up from that. Turn up to the property. Now, normally you get 2 sheriffs. There was 6 sheriffs at this property because this guy was so known to them. So, yeah, that was just wild. Yeah. So then we...
brutal.
Yeah. And then he just kicked and screamed. She almost had to be dragged out. Yeah.
So he's known to the sheriffs for...
He was known... I said to him, I said...
For previous tenancy matters or just in general?
I think just in general. Because I turned up and I said, I'm sorry, but I've never seen 6 of you in one place. And they said, yeah, he's known to us. So we brought back up.
6 on 1, we might have him.
Yeah.
You'd hope so.
I just turned up with me and Carly, the 2 property managers, and there's 6 sheriffs. We're going, oh my God.
I'm just more impressed at the fact that George managed to get a hearing with the Supreme Court the day of the eviction. Let him.
Surely that would have cost him something.
I have no idea.
Let him cook.
Yeah,
He's the MVP. He's the GOAT. How does he manage this?
No, he definitely.
It's honestly more impressive than anything. I'm actually impressed. He's called in some of those Greek connections. I'm sure
he must have. But
that's an all time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Hopefully, never have to do that again.
Hopefully, I never have to appear at the Supreme Court again with a minute's notice. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We've already gone pretty solid over time. I'm not sorry about it because that was hilarious, that final story. As usual, in terms of plugs, I don't have any fun-witted ones for this episode.
No.
My brain's not functioning today, but we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts, and we are on YouTube. Video podcasts on Spotify and YouTube. Go follow our show socials. We have an Instagram page and a Facebook page. Yeah, follow us.
Oh, that was good.
And when we post Q&As, please ask us questions. We like questions. We don't get enough of them.
And a big thank you to Tiana for taking some time out of her Sunday to come and chat crap with us.
Thanks for having me.
No, see now this is validation for us because now we can say we've covered the rental legislation with an actual certified professional. We've got the seal of approval. Lock it in, Supreme Court judge. All right, good stuff. Benny, would you like to wrap us up, mate?
We're all done. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thanks.
Oh.
Everything presented in this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only, and all advice is to be considered general in nature. It does not take into account your personal circumstances and financial objectives. Please consider if this advice is right for you and look to consult a financial professional.